welcome back to Zero Sum Gaming here at the Culture Cache. Donors, please be patient, as I know there are at least a few of you I haven't gotten to yet, but I think this is going to be worth it. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, just came out, so I thought this was a perfect opportunity to show off this SNES classic, Super Star Wars.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Sorry, Luke, you're going to have to do that later. For now, let's check out the game. I think you, of all people, are really going to like it.
Why didn't you say so before?
You never asked. Still, I'm glad you're going to give the game a chance. Grab a seat in the couch, and let's check out Super Star Wars.
Looks like I'm going nowhere. I have to go finish cleaning those droids.
The Force is strong with this one. This game somehow managed to fly below many people's radars, while simultaneously being kind of a BFD. I'm not really sure how that happened, but by now, you either are already pretty darn familiar with it, or you're seeing it for the very first time right now. Considering that it's one of the earliest releases by JVC Musical Industries, I'd say they did an admirable job. This is a licensed game, so you should be on your guard. I wrote a companion article for this game that addresses licensed games in more detail. There's a link in the description. This is not a truly excellent game, but it's still above average. Not bad for a fledgling developer. Let's see some of the reasons why. Well, the look of the game is certainly appropriate. The graphics are quite good, and the animation is fantastic. Player characters look exactly like their movie counterparts, and there's great attention to detail. Clearly, the animators watched the source material extensively in order to differentiate how Luke and Han fired their blasters, for example. Many enemies are lifted from the movie, and they're immediately identifiable, such as the Cantina boss being based on one of the chess pieces. Others were created for this game, but they certainly fit in and are welcome additions. When you consider the success of the Star Wars movies, the music is certainly a major factor. Even as I'm sitting here editing this video right now, I have the 10-hour-long Cantina song pulled up on YouTube in the background. It's not fair to pinpoint the series' achievements to any one single person, but certainly one of the names on the short list would be John Williams. Thankfully, the music in this game is outstanding. Of course, I'd expect no less considering the game is made by a music company, but honestly, I wouldn't have had it any other way. It would have been a deal breaker if this game failed to deliver in the music department. See for yourself. The sound effects are a tiny step below the music, but still very good. Neither are 100% correct to the movie, but given the technical limitations of the hardware at the time, it's hard to ask for more than we got with them. If you clicked on this video, you're likely already the type of person who can correctly identify the exact terrifying scream of a TIE fighter, the perfect pitch and duration of a lightsaber turning on, and you can tell blaster pistols and blaster rifles apart based purely on the sound. If so, you won't be disappointed with the quality of how they're represented in this game. These features are extremely important in crafting an experience that simply screams Star Wars. The cutting edge, for 1992, graphics and especially the impressive audio presentation never leave you questioning if this is a Star Wars game. I love the atmosphere. My favorite little detail is when you play as Chewie. Every now and then, you'll hear his growl while you play. Again, those who made this game definitely knew their source material. Interestingly enough, the visual artists for this game are actually on record stating how little concept work they had to do, since the look of the movie was already firmly cemented in everybody's minds. Of course, I'm sure you're much the same. Who's your favorite character in A New Hope? There's a good chance he's playable here. You start out with Luke Skywalker, but you gain access to Chewbacca and Han Solo over the course of the game. Each has his strengths and weaknesses. You're required to use Luke for about half of the game, so get used to him. He's fast and agile. You'll need these perks quite often though, since he's pretty squishy. He also sports low damage dealing potential. He gains some flexibility once you acquire his lightsaber. Sadly, it's not really all that useful. The blaster is really the way to go in this game. You'll gain access to Chewie once you get to level 9, the iconic Cantina. Personally, I think he's the best character. He's the most durable, and this is the kind of game where you're pretty likely to take hits, so this benefit is immediately obvious. He also starts each life with the flame gun instead of a standard blaster. He is much slower than Luke and Han, and he never gets a lightsaber, but his offensive and defensive capabilities more than make up for that. From level 10 onwards, you can choose any of the 3 characters. Han Solo somewhat occupies the middle ground between Luke and Chewbacca. Like Luke, he's nimble, but he's also frail. He also starts each life with the level 2 flame gun as Chewie does. Unfortunately for poor Han though, I think he's the worst character of the lot. If you're really good at the game, and survival isn't an issue, then Luke is better than Han because of his option to wield a lightsaber. If you're not so good at the game, then Chewie's extra long life bar will be your key to success. I once played Han Solo in a production of Shakespeare's Star Wars. He's a character I very much know and love, but as much as I hate to admit it, there's just no compelling reason to use him in this game. His animation is very good and a true joy to watch, but it's literally always better strategy to go with one of the other 2 characters. Fidelity to the movie's canon is often a bit flexible in this game, but I think they knew when to follow it and when to break from it. This isn't an attack on A New Hope as a movie, but there's comparatively little action when you look at it as part of the original trilogy. It makes sense as a movie since we have to spend so much time getting to know these characters, while Empire and Jedi don't have to spend their time doing that. They just dive right into the action. As far as Super Star Wars goes, there are some levels, such as the 2 involving the Sandcrawler, that are extremely loosely tied to the movie. This is better for the game though, since it allows for a longer experience without simply padding the game out with a fetch quest or something lame like that. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Strangely, it's most similar to something like Contra, but it's way more forgiving. Y is your attack button. Eventually, Luke gets a lightsaber, but for most of the game, you'll be using your trusty firearm.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You can fire at 5 different trajectories and on 2 different levels. You'll be wise to get very familiar with how this works, since there are often certain places where you can stand in order to minimize or even fully prevent incoming damage while still dishing it out. Skillful use of how your aiming works can even make many bosses laughably easy. As you kill normal enemies, they will almost always drop power-ups. The most common is a small heart, which heals you a little bit. This might sound like a consolation prize, but it means you can farm regular enemies to stay healthy at all times. There are also large hearts which recover more life, but more important than those are the health sword drops. These, appropriately, look like lightsabers, and each one you collect raises your max life either until the end of the stage or until you die. The fact that you can farm your way to a giant life meter is nearly unheard of in an action game. Just keep an eye on the timer. Then again, enemies drop extra time as well. Be sure to collect health swords and time icons as quickly as possible, since their benefits decrease the longer they're on screen. Another semi-permanent upgrade you can receive is to your blaster. It has 5 levels, and unlike your life bar, blaster enhancements do carry over level to level. The first 2 are nothing special, but 3 through 5 are. 3 offers you Seekers, which automatically track enemies and pursue them. You can make a valid argument for actively avoiding blaster power-ups once you have Seekers, provided it suits your playstyle. 4 is a rapid ion gun. As you'd expect, it fires very quickly and makes short work of most enemies you encounter. The max level for the gun, 5, is plasma. It's highly damaging and the shots are very wide, making it easy to work with. There are a lot of secrets in this game. They usually require you to stray from the beaten path or perform some specific action. Each one offers you at least one item, and often you get much more than that. These are some of the best ways to get your blaster fully powered up. There's even a 1-up loop. While you lose a life and your gun upgrades, you gain 7 lives each time you go through it. If you have time to spare, you can even pump yourself up to 99 lives this way. There's also some good variety in this game. Most levels are 2D run and gun, and admittedly, I prefer these levels. But the vehicle levels certainly do their part to keep the game fresh. The Mode 7 effects were a big deal at the time, and they still look decent today. And be honest, you can't tell me you've never fantasized about landing Luke's perfect force-assisted proton torpedo shot to destroy the Death Star, can you? Good news! The famous trench run is included in this game. Well, I already hinted that there are some flaws with this game.
What a piece of junk!
I wouldn't go that far, Luke, but there are some things that could have been improved. If you look around online, you'll see tons of reviews asserting that this game is extremely difficult.
It's not true! That's impossible!
See? Luke here agrees with you. But honestly, I don't really think it's that hard. When I hear that a game is difficult, I'm usually thinking in terms of, say, Ninja Gaiden or Battletoads. This game isn't anywhere near as hard as those titles. Frankly, once I get past level 4, the inside sandcrawler level, I rarely lose a life. I managed a deathless run getting the footage for this video, in fact. I think the people who do find this one tough are probably not the people who grew up gaming in this era. Take it from me, games are much, much easier today than during the SNES days. And even the SNES era is easier than the NES one. Either way, there's a difficulty setting in the options. It basically sets how much damage you give and receive.
There's a very bad feeling about this.
Honestly, much of the perceived difficulty likely comes from the controls. They're not horrible, but they are pretty slippery, especially when jumping. You press B in order to jump. Okay, that's intuitive. Hold up and press B to do a high jump. That's a little unorthodox, but still doable. But the game gets pretty sensitive if you want to do a long horizontal jump. You have to be very precise with your directional inputs. Additionally, your gaming instincts probably tell you to hold the jump button for greater distances. Nope, not here. If you hold the jump button, your character will continue to jump. This can make athletic stages like the outside sandcrawler level even more difficult because as soon as you land on that platform, if you're still holding the jump button, your character's going to jump again, and a lot of those platforms move. Again, the controls aren't scruffy looking Nerf herder level, but they are plain old regular Nerf herder level. Another, I would argue, more significant problem is the lack of a password system to save your progress. This isn't a long game, but it can certainly be long enough to require multiple sittings in order to play through it. Thankfully, they realized this shortcoming, and the other two SNES Star Wars games do have one. So, is Super Star Wars worth it? This game is benefiting from The Force Awakens' recent release, and the price has had a small uptick, but it's only up to about $13. Still, the drawbacks of this game are just too much to ignore. I find this game's lack of prose disturbing. I'm afraid I cannot recommend this game. Alright, Luke called my bluff. Yes, there are some flaws to this game, but they don't come anywhere near ruining it. The recently released PSN version offers save states, which gets around one of those very negatives, and it goes for less than $10. But even the SNES cart at $13 is still worth it. This is a good game, period. And for a licensed game, this one is great. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. You will like this video. You will subscribe to the Culture Cache. I bet we've all got the same question right now. Where's Chewie's medal?